And good morning, everybody. Your time right now is 10:19, and we're breaking into your programming to bring you some breaking news that's happening right now as expected. What you're looking at here is a high school walking out of classes, one of many that's expected to do the exact same thing at some point today.
You're looking at Cypress Bay High School there in Weston. They started this about 10 o'clock this morning, and they are currently thousands of students here on the field at Falcon Cove Middle School field. Again, we expect several schools to do this as well. We understand Western High School in Davie also taking part in this as we speak. Darryl Forges is there, and they're talking 3,200 students who are currently doing the exact same thing, but you're looking here in Weston at this point.
So this particular school, Cypress Bay High School in Weston, but what you're looking at here, they're actually marching out onto the Falcon Cove Middle School field, because that middle school is right next to the high school, which is a very similar situation to what we have in Parkland, Stoneman Douglas, and right next door, about 50 yards away, is Westglades Middle School. So it came down yesterday afternoon that many schools were putting out the word. It sort of started out as a rumor, and then official documentation started coming down that there was going to be some school walkouts today, and things were being planned. There were different times of day. Initially, we were hearing that these walkouts were going to begin at 10 o'clock in the morning, which this one did. Other schools, from what we're hearing, and different chatter on social media as well, some want to do the very same thing beginning at 11. Other schools planning on doing this walkout at noon.
And there are more than 5,000 students at this school, so it is one of the most popular schools in the country. So you're talking about a lot of students, and we understand that there is police presence, so they are being essentially escorted. This is very peaceful, and this was expected. Yesterday, when we saw this happen at another school, we had educators. In fact, it happened at West Boca. We had students there during our midday newscast, and there were educators, there were police who were assisting this, and this is their way to show their support to those students there in Parkland, and also to push for gun control. Meanwhile, all this is happening. You have folks at the Tallahassee Capitol there, and you also have people in D.C., students who are marching, who hope that this is the last shooting, the last mass shooting that they will have to endure. This generation has been known as the mass school or mass shooting generation, one that has witnessed several during their time, and they're hoping that this generation is the one that changes something. That is their words there.
And so we're expecting, as I mentioned, scenes like this to be playing out over the course of the next couple of hours. Just happens to be the first one that we have seen so far, and Chopper 6 was up over that school, so we're able to bring you these live pictures. Cypress Bay High School, this is in Weston. The address is 18600 Vista Park Boulevard, 18600 Vista Park Boulevard, again in Weston. Neighboring Falcon Cove Middle School is next door as well. We've heard so many students over the course of the last week, because again, we are sitting at exactly a week since the shooting at Stoneman Douglas in Parkland happened, and we have seen so many students come forward. Some students really felt that it was their platform, it was the right time for them to come forward, saying that their generation is going to be the generation of change. They're calling on gun reform, like you just heard Shelley say. NBC6 education reporter Ari Odzer boarded a bus yesterday afternoon with a couple of hundred Stoneman Douglas students and some faculty members headed to Tallahassee. They're expected to confront lawmakers and have a peaceful conversation, hopefully, and a civilized conversation about what they want and how they want lawmakers to move forward to make change, because they don't want that to happen again. We heard from some very, very brave teenagers over the last couple of days, giving a very detailed account, not just of what happened that day, but also how they feel about their potential to keep this from happening at another high school, and to keep other students from experiencing the things that they have seen and that they have gone through in the last week.
I want to read you something that's been going around social media. This is the plan, the students' plan that was passed along to get others involved. So they are essentially heading to Vista Park, according to this text that has been going around. They said that they're going to then sit in a circle, they're going to march, talk about their opinions and what they think is going on, and they're going to have guest speakers coming in from Douglas to talk to them. They're going to talk about it and say some words, essentially what they're doing here. So this is student It was started by students. They said that they invited teachers, staff, and educators there. So this is something that has been in the works. We see some parents who have written Weston who've said, hey, are you going to take care of my kids? And then we do have other students who are saying we do see Broward Sheriff's deputies out here who are assisting. And this is clearly something that is heavily thought out and also planned and under control.
Yeah, and because of that, Shelley, I think that obviously law enforcement is aware of this. They were also made aware of some very specific school names where they thought that this was going to happen. Again, this just happens to be the first one that Chopper 6 was up and over. But as the morning continues on, and very likely probably well into the afternoon as well, we'll be seeing other high schools that are doing the same thing. Now, mind you, this is a huge high school. This is 9th grade through 12th grade, this high school, about 5,500 students. It is the biggest, mind you, in terms of student body. It is the biggest high school in the United States with 5,500 total students. Again, 9th grade through 12th grade. Right next door, Falcon Cove Middle School as well. And we have been getting information from multiple other areas of the country, multiple other groups in other parts of the country that are planning to do the same thing today. So even though obviously our community here locally, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas is the high school where all of this happened, this Parkland community. So of course this is where all of this happened. So this is the center point for all of this nationwide conversation at this point. But there are organizations and schools all across the nation that are going to be doing exactly the same. What we're seeing right now, other news outlets in other cities, in other states are planning on covering this the exact same way we are right now. In fact, I'll just mention one to you that we have gotten word of. March 14th, I know this is some time away, but March 14th, 1 month exactly from that point when the school shooting happened last week, the Women's March Youth Empowerment Group is planning on doing a school walkout as well, 1 month to the day, again, March 14th. So this isn't something that is very egocentric to our neck of the woods, even though this most recent tragedy did happen here locally, and it is very heartfelt here locally. We do plan on seeing this at many, many other schools throughout the state of Florida and all over the country.
I'm just reading some breaking news here about a Senator, Linda Stewart here from Florida, who has filed amendments banning assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. So we're trying to get more information on this. But that is why these students, not only here in across the country and South Florida, are trying to make their voices heard, but that is why you have hundreds who headed up to Tallahassee and some more who are up in D.C., hoping that something is going to come out of this from what we saw here. All this is happening, but again, we do have Daryl Forges, who is at Western High in Davie. He reported there are about 3,200 students. They headed off to the field, and they're actually in orange. So when you're looking at it from Chopper 6, hopefully at some point when we're with you here, we can have some of that video. But it's pretty captivating when you see a field of folks there in orange, simply making a statement without ever having to say a word out there. They say that they're hoping that this sends a message. Obviously, that's the whole point here. But we're going to work on some more information on this this breaking news here from Linda Stewart, the senator in Central Florida, who just filed an amendment to ban assault weapons, and certainly we're going to see more of this here.
Yeah, and this is the dialogue that is going to take center point, whether it be this week or this month or for the next couple of months. Gun control is going to be the dialogue. We knew that going into it. It was just how soon was this community, was our local community going to be ready to really get into the brunt of this once again? Because the same questions are posed over and over again. We have a mass shooting, and then of course people start looking at in the name of prevention, in the names of the lives lost, and there's the emotional toll that it takes. But I want to put some numbers to that. The date of this poll, February 20th, 2018, Quinnipiac University national poll asked quite a few people, and this was just a quick result. I'll just give you the Cliff's Notes here. American voters support stricter gun laws, 66 to 31%. That is the highest level of support ever measured by an independent organization. Again, this is a Quinnipiac University national poll. American voters are for stricter gun laws, 66 to 31%. Again, that is the highest level ever measured by an independent source. Now, mind you, this is just one independent source, so that certainly does not measure all of the United States. It does not break things down into states or counties or anything like that. That is just an overall national poll by an independent source. All of this happening win over the course of the next couple of days. We've talked about it so much this morning. More viewings, more funerals here locally. So like I said just a second ago, you know, I think it's really important for us to take note quite clearly of what is happening here in our local community. But I think it's just as important to understand that these walkouts are planned all over the nation today at different points, organized by different organizations. But high schools all over the U.S. are going to be experiencing, some of them anyway, scenes very similar to this.
Yeah, and all this comes after yesterday here, the Florida State House rejected a ban on semi-automatic guns, large capacity magazines. They had actually started with a prayer there for the 17 people, then got into business, and that vote was 36 to 71. So I think, you know, there were Douglas students there, and they were stunned when that came out. I was talking to Senator Marco Rubio over the weekend, and they just said, you know, his point is that we've done the assault ban before. We did it from 1994 to 2004, and we know that Columbine happened during that time. And his argument is that it did not work. It did not produce anything because there are already 8+ million assault rifles out there. They're grandfathered in, so it would take 40 to 50 years to completely get rid of all these assault rifles and never have them, but we would still be able to have them through the black market, and that is obviously their argument. You have on the other side, Democratic, State Senator Gary Farmer says, why don't we try? Why don't we do a push here over the weekend? He stood up in front of a protest at the federal courthouse and just urged for lawmakers and to do something, because in their point of view that something needs to be done. It's more than nothing at all.
All right, so we're going to split the screen right here to give you a better idea of what is happening at the same time. These are two live pictures that you're looking at here. On the left-hand side is a school board meeting that is happening in Fort Lauderdale. Quite clearly, they have a lot of things to address and a lot of things to talk about. One of the big things that they are going to be discussing, and I can almost guarantee you that there are probably some television screens within that area where they are holding this school board meeting, where they know exactly what's going on here. Obviously, social media is being flooded with a lot of information, but that school board meeting in part to discuss moving forward. There are so many moving parts to this. You know, a lot of people, our local lawmakers were asked questions, local teachers were asked questions. Do you think that teachers should be carrying guns in schools? Is that adding to the problem? Are there already too many guns out there? There are so many questions out there that are not going to have answers anytime soon. And so there's a lot of discussions that need to be laid out on the table. People need to be completely honest about things. Shelley was just talking to Senator Marco Rubio over the weekend. You know, anytime with any situation, whether it be gun control or anything else, whenever you slap the word ban on something, it just tends to have the opposite impact, because when you start to do that, all of a sudden there's this huge movement, and of course everybody wants their rights, their constitutional rights, but it really begins to take on a life of its own when you put the word ban on anything, whether it be guns or anything else. So the question now is, are there incremental things that should be happening? Are guns the issue? Is mental health the issue? You know, exactly where are we going to head with this? But again, these students, they're not necessarily talking about mental health today. What they've been very clear that they're walking out of class for is for a call for gun controls to prevent this from happening again.
All right, and if you're just gear to support the school there, we're going to have much more coming up, and we're back here at 11. Walkouts expected across South Florida. We're going to be with you again at midday.